If we haven't met before, I'm Dr. Richard Nongard, and I am looking forward to this course on Experiential Somatic Therapy. This video is an introduction. There will be numerous tutorials that follow this, going into specifics and sharing with you and teaching you a wide variety of techniques that you can incorporate into your practice. By the way, whether that's in a traditional role as a psychotherapist, or whether that's doing hypnotherapy, whether that's practicing life coaching, or really any other form of mentoring and assisting people to live a better life, to achieve their goals, and to accomplish what's most important to them. Now, early on, as a new therapist, I was a graduate student, like many people were, learning about counseling and counseling theory. And of course, I learned about talk therapy. And when I was trained in psychotherapy in the mid to late 1980s, the predominant approach, the new theory that was on the scene, was cognitive behavioral therapy. And I envisioned myself spending the rest of my life practicing with my clients, me talking to them talking to me listening to them listening to me, and spending my time challenging their misbeliefs, their stinking thinking, their faulty cognitions, to help them develop behaviors that were more effective at regulating their emotions. After all, CBT had become the rage by this point and was considered the first evidence-based therapy. I was lucky, though, through my practicum with Dr. Dean P. Montgomery in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who was an Ericksonian-trained hypnotherapist, I learned that therapy is much bigger than simply talking. When I came to Houston for one of my first jobs after graduate school, I had a colleague, a coworker. She had probably 30 or 40 years of experience at the time. Her name was Aggie Van Brunt. She was a social worker, and she led psychodrama classes, and she used a psychodynamic approach in her therapy, which was really far different than I had learned in graduate school. But these two experiences taught me something very valuable. And that was when we don't just talk and we don't just listen, but we actually create an experience with our clients. Our clients experience profound and lasting change. Psychodrama, of course, is considered an experiential therapy. It's a therapeutic approach where people will often role play and participate in understanding their previous traumas and life experiences rather than by talking through it, acting through it. And psychodrama therapy sessions can really be powerful sessions. Some of these group therapy sessions were 2 hours or 3 hours long in small groups of 5 or 6 patients. And the results were really pretty remarkable. They focused on the physical experiences that the participants were eliciting as they reenacted their previous life experiences. And we could see in the work that we were doing, both the emotional changes as well as the cognitive changes. Carl Rogers called this the aha experience. Sometimes we can't put together why this belief or this experience is happening, but there comes a moment where it all sort of comes together, and there were a lot of aha experiences in those psychodrama classes. Hypnosis, incidentally, is really at its core an experiential therapy. And I learned Ericksonian approaches to hypnosis. And Ericksonian approaches to hypnosis involve a client in their experience and their story and their recovery through action. And so these experiences early on taught me the value of an experiential approach to therapy, to helping people make changes. I then went on to become a substance abuse counselor. And at that time, in the late 1980s, the early 1990s, the predominant approach in substance abuse counseling was Gestalt therapy. The ideas of Fritz Perls in Gestalt therapy is at its core an experiential therapy as well. So I've been practicing these methods now for going on almost 40 years, and I'm really excited to share with you the techniques and strategies that you can incorporate into the work that you're doing with your clients. So in order to begin, let's take a look at a couple of words here. Let's look first at experiential. What is experiential? Experiential in the context of experiential somatic therapy means going beyond simply talking about something and rather taking an action and doing something. So this could be accomplished in therapy with movement. This could be accomplished with role-playing. This could be accomplished with, in Ericksonian hypnosis, ideomotor movements. This could be accomplished in forms of experiential therapy where a person might engage in postural sway or breathing techniques or any number of different techniques that can cause a person to become involved in their experience. If you're familiar with Gestalt therapy, you know about chair work, where a person will sit in one chair and talk to the other them, move to that chair, reply back to the other them. And this is, of course, an experiential process where a person isn't just talking. And as one who practices traditional psychotherapy as well as clinical hypnosis, many hypnotists believe that hypnotherapy is about the client sitting in the chair with their eyes closed while the hypnotist talks to them. And at the end of 20 or 30 or 40 minutes, they open their eyes, the therapist finishes talking, and the change has miraculously occurred. The hypnosis sessions that I do are almost always very involved. They open and close their eyes. They take actions during the session. They talk to me during the sessions. And I think this is really important because I think that every therapy session, no matter what we call it or how we structure it, should involve the client from the beginning to the end. This can be accomplished sometimes in simple ways. Questioning and asking a client to give feedback about their experience in the current moment. Mindfulness-based practices, which are experiential because they help a person to be fully in the present moment. All of these techniques are experiential and can be highly effective. I almost always give my clients experiential homework to do as well. I like to call them Therapeutic Big Macs, a snack, something to take with them between sessions. What I want my clients to do when our session is over is to then begin to implement the learnings, the experiences, the goals and the hopes and the interventions that we created during our therapy session and practice them and integrate them into their daily life. It's my belief that the goal of therapy is ultimately for the client to no longer need a therapist. And the only way to accomplish this is for a client to transfer the experience of a therapy session into their real world, and into their real world by integrating through action the experiences that were rehearsed and practiced and discussed in our therapy sessions. So what's the somatic and experiential somatic therapy? In Western thought, there's a dualism. There's a belief of mind and body, and we talked about mind-body connectedness. It's my belief that mind and body are not connected. Mind and body are unified. They are inseparable. I believe that that mind is in every cell of the body. And you're probably familiar with Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score, which I've actually made the textbook for this course. So you should have a copy of that. If you don't have a copy, go out and buy a copy. An ebook copy is fine. A paperback copy is fine. But you're going to need that book for this course. And van der Kolk believes, and there's plenty of evidence to show, that our traumas are stored in our bodies physically. Clients who have ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, are much more likely to experience significant physical health-related conditions later on in life. My clients who come in and report that their problem is stress almost always have some other physical symptom going on with them, whether it's chronic pain, functional illnesses. Those are illnesses that have real physical manifestations, but there isn't a physical explanation for why the illness is manifesting. Irritable bowel syndrome, all of these types of things. And then sometimes our clients have anything ranging from migraine headaches to, again, chronic pain to inflammation-related conditions. This is the body. And it's van der Kolk's belief, and it's my belief as well, that these health conditions are caused by, in many cases, our psychological experiences being somatized, right? Somaticized and manifesting through the physical experience. Since our traumas are stored in our bodies, the reality is that a therapeutic approach must integrate somatic exercises, practices, and experiences things that focus on the body into the therapeutic process in order for our clients to find lasting relief. In other words, it's not enough just to talk about it and come up with an action plan. We must talk about it, come up with an action plan, and we also must be present with and sit with our body. As a therapist early on in my career, I had another experience that was really profound. I was doing traditional talk therapy in my office. Afterwards, at the end of my day, I would go to the gym and I would work out with a personal trainer. His name was Jared, still my Facebook friend many years later. And Jared was a personal trainer at the gym, and he taught me all kinds of things. I was not naturally an athletic person growing up. I was a band geek. This is what happens when a saxophone player and a clarinet player grows up, ends up like me. So working out was new, and I was working out with this personal fitness trainer. At the gym where I went, there was a hospital connected to it or affiliated with it, and the personal trainers who were traditional personal fitness trainers, they wore a purple shirt like Jared did. And then there were some trainers that wore blue shirts with the logo of the gym on it. And these trainers were actually physical therapists. And these trainers were working with hospital patients. And they were working with hospital patients in the gym to help them recover from their physical illnesses. I remember one day working out with Jared on one side of the gym, and all the way across from the gym was an obese man on a treadmill. He was walking very slowly, and you could tell that it was painful and tedious for him to do it, but he was doing it. And the trainer in the blue shirt was standing next to him at the treadmill. And as Jared and I were working out, our session was an hour long. This gentleman was standing on the treadmill, walking ever so slowly, but doing it for the entire time, and of course, talking to his trainer. When I was driving home from the gym that day, I realized something. That blue-shirted personal trainer had done a therapy session. But unlike the therapist who talks about physical health and taking action, this therapist, the blue-shirted trainer, actually had taken action with the client. And I began to wonder, what would happen if we replaced the couch in the therapy office with a treadmill? What if I put a treadmill in my office and my clients walked on the treadmill as we did our therapy session? By the way, the research shows that for depressed clients, there's something twice as effective as antidepressant psychotropic medication, and that is physical activity 4 times a week at 75%, 80% of a person's heart rate for sustained periods of time. And that a person who engages in this physical activity is twice as likely to resolve, on a regular basis, is twice as likely to resolve their depression as one who does not. And because I was working with a lot of depressed clients, I went out to the store that night and I bought a treadmill and I brought it to my office. And when I had clients who were depressed and they would in the past had talked to me about their depression, I had them get on the treadmill and actually walk. Not at an athletic pace, but simply movement in order to help them begin to release this depression on a physical level. I became so interested in this after seeing success with my early clients that I went to school to actually become certified as a personal fitness trainer. Now, I've never worked as a personal fitness trainer, but I've always believed that our clients can only be as well emotionally as they are physically. Now let's focus on the therapeutic aspect of experiential somatic therapies. Our goal in therapy is to help our clients to create a version of them, to meet themselves, to connect to their shadow self, to become a whole of their parts. These are really the goals of therapy. And many participants in this course are practicing various forms of therapy. Some of you consider yourself primarily a talk therapist or a cognitive behavioral therapist. And by the way, I'm a firm believer that we can confront and challenge cognitive errors and change thinking and produce results. There's certainly great value in cognitive behavioral therapy, but that we can do this from an experiential perspective, and we can integrate the somatic elements or aspects of a person's health and wellness and experience in order to elicit and produce change. Some of you are hypnotherapists like me, You practice predominantly using trance work as a mechanism to reach the unconscious mind and to help a person make changes at the deepest levels, whether they're aware of the changes or not. And that's the great thing about experiential somatic approaches. Sometimes our clients aren't really sure they're making much progress, but they come back a week or two later with an aha experience, recognizing that, wow, what we did has absolutely had an effect on their life and experience. Some of you are not working with mental health clients. You're working with clients who are already well, but trying to reach their highest level of performance. These are life coaching clients, and life coaching clients can literally move from a state of okayness to a state of excellence. The difference between coaching and therapy, although they often use some similar methods, is that traditional therapy works with dysfunctional people trying to get them functional, and life coaches work with functional people trying to move them towards excellence. And the difference between functional and excellence is often the inclusion of the somatic experiences and the integration, creating a unity of that mind and body. Our goal in therapy is to help our clients, no matter what type of therapy we're practicing. Our goal in therapy is ultimately to move our clients to independence, to up the Maslowian escalator, to self-actualization, to a state of empowerment, to a state of wellness. You know, this is what I love about positive psychology. Instead of asking what's wrong with the person, it asks what's right. And these things can often be discovered through experiential somatic therapy practices and processes. I've struggled to find the right words. We call it the mind-body connection, but it's not a connection between two separate things. It's not even an integration of two separate things. It's the mind-body unity. This is one of the reasons why I love the ideas of the Tao. The idea of the Tao, you've seen the yin-yang logo. It's two sides of the same thing. And I think this is really an important concept. This is an important concept because the foundation of experiential somatic therapy is a belief that mind and body are not separate, that they are in fact one and the same, expressed in various ways and addressed in various ways. What are some of the primary therapists that these philosophies and foundations are built on? Well, without a doubt, Gestalt therapy. Gestalt therapy, Fritz Perls, of course, is not only known for the chair therapy technique, but Fritz Perls was also known for, in Gestalt therapy was also known for creating what he called experiments in therapy. Now, as a hypnotist, I'm also trained in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And in NLP, we call these NLP patterns. Make no mistake, though, that NLP derived originally from the ideas of Gestalt therapy and Fritz Perls' experiments. So if the idea of Fritz Perls' experiments are new to you, the experiential approach of NLP patterns, where a person tests, operates, tests, and exits, is a new idea to you. It's actually something that you've been doing now for a long time. Polyvagal theory, which, by the way, is a theory. This polyvagal theory talks about the polyvagal nerve and its role in the autonomic nervous system, regulating both our social experiences, our emotional experiences, as well as our behavioral experiences and our physical experiences as well. And although polyvagal theory is exactly that, in the present day, it is a theory. There have been, of course, numerous studies on the effectiveness of affecting and impacting the polyvagal nerve, and that theory moves each and every day closer to becoming a scientific fact. But regardless of whether or not polyvagal theory is established scientific fact yet or not, it makes a terrific narrative to help our clients understand the mind-body unification. Trauma-informed therapies are also at the heart of somatic experiential approaches. We have a lot that we owe to researchers working in the field of trauma. People like Richard Schwartz and internal family systems theory and others who have developed what are called trauma-informed approaches. And these approaches recognize that trauma is, in fact, stored in the body, that the mind-body connection is inseparable because they are, in fact, one and the same. Robert Spolski is another theorist who's very popular right now. He is actually a neuroscientist, a primate researcher, and a human researcher. I can't remember what university he's at, but his videos on YouTube have millions of hits. His books have been bestsellers, and he has argued that there is no such thing as free will. Pretty controversial statement to make. After all, don't you make choices each and every day? Spolski would say you believe you make choices each and every day, but the choices you make were predetermined, and I think that's the title of his most recent book, Predetermined, or Determined. But the ideas of Spolski are that our biology brought us to where our choices are today, and our biology is going to dictate which choice we make. Some pretty interesting, fascinating theoretical arguments, and the research that he has, that he presents in his books, as well as his lectures. I think he's at Cornell University, if I remember correctly. But the lectures he's posted from his classes at Cornell University, I'll put a link below this video, are actually really important. And so these are some of the theorists that experiential somatic therapy draws from. There are many other contributors, there are many other theorists, but hopefully by taking this time in this first orientation video, you have a level of excitement for impacting your clients in a new way. You have a new sense of hope for even addressing some of your own unresolved issues, the things that have been holding you back from being able to accomplish the things that are most important to you. And it's my hope then, through each of the tutorials that are included in this course, you'll be able to learn the techniques and the theories and apply these in a way that's helpful both to you as well as the clients that you work with.